Round 3 of the Formula 1 2019 Championship takes us to China for the 1000th ever Formula 1 race. A statistic which is cool, I guess. I mean, it's going to have no effect on the racing, but I'm sure in the build-up there's going to be plenty of trailers, of throwback moments. We've seen a few special helmets already come out from a few of the drivers. George Russell going with a really unique one, a Juan Pablo Montoya helmet. But the main focus is going to be on 2019. As you can see in the background is the circuit layout. A circuit that I think, with a few DRS sections, could really spice up the racing. And after Bahrain, a brilliant race, a cracking race in fact, I think we could see some really close battles over the course of this weekend. And we could see some really interesting results up and down the field. You might notice this is coming out on a Thursday. We usually do this on a Friday. We talk about FP1, FP2, but if you haven't seen on the channel over the weekend, I'm away. I'm actually away this weekend in Rome covering the Formula E race from the actual circuit, so you're going to see actual live footage from the race on this channel over this weekend. But don't worry, Formula 1 content will still be here. It just means in this particular video, we don't have a chance to really analyse the first few practice sessions, which is fine, because it's only practice at the end of the day. But as you can see on screen now, we're heading onto an absolute gigantosaur of a straight. This is the back straight, the final sector of the race. And I think this year we could really see a few opportunities for drivers that potentially have DRS at the beginning of the straight, overtake someone, and then the guy that has been overtaken potentially getting in the tow and re-overtaking back down into the hairpin. I think it's going to be a brilliant time for overtaking this weekend. The first race of the season in Melbourne with the new front wings didn't really make a fat lot of difference, but like I say, last time in Bahrain, to me anyway, it looked like major steps had been made from last year in 2018. So I think China's going to be a real sort of talking point on whether these new regulations for the front wings that are supposed to make overtaking a lot easier, whether they really have a huge effect. And I think they actually are looking quite good. However, let's talk about last time, because we can't focus on practice. We can only analyse the two races that have been so far. And Bottas, a commanding victory in Melbourne. He was nowhere in Bahrain. Neither really was Lewis Hamilton. It looked like a Ferrari absolute clean sweep. They looked like they had the pace that they had in pre-season, and yet the classic Ferrari that we have seen for the past 2 seasons, where they can't quite get it over the line, gave away a free 1-2 finish to Mercedes. And that still seems so bizarre to say. They were second and first, Vettel and Leclerc, in every single session except the race. Vettel, of his own accord really, did his own little spinning tricks that he loves to do in a fight with Lewis Hamilton about halfway through the race. He had to do one extra stop after that, after his front wing imploded on itself. That was, for him, a real gut-wrenching but also pivotal moment, I'm going to say, in the championship. And I know we're only the second race in, but already now, not only has that put himself on the back foot in the championship, he's not had a podium yet in 2019, but also he's not won since Spa last year. That's a hell of a long time for someone who many are considering should be in this championship fight. And I agree as well. I think he'll still be thereabouts, but people are already saying that Charles Leclerc has got the upper hand on this guy, and very quickly, if after the Chinese Grand Prix, if he's not on the podium, if he's not on the pace and Leclerc is, that dynamic in that team is going to shift. And that's going to be a real interesting watch over the season. But on the other side of the garage for Charles Leclerc, another huge missed opportunity for Ferrari. Leclerc was on fire all weekend, dominating a real, one of the ages, a drive that I think many people would have said could be one of the best of the season. However, the dream of his first race win was just destroyed. About 10 laps from the end of the race, his car gave up on him. His car gave up on him, and while the issue itself will not affect this race, so they've still managed to keep the same power unit, so he won't take a grid penalty this weekend, it did consequently destroy his Bahrain Grand Prix. Dropping from first, could have easily finished fifth. luckily, after a double DNF for Renault in very quick succession, a bizarre quick succession, almost, I think it was about 50 metres between the two cars DNFing for Renault, gave a lifeline to Leclerc. Safety car came out, Leclerc was saved, gets his first Formula 1 podium. But heading to China, who are we got to look out for? Who are the kind of guys that we're going to say, right, this is what are going to be the front runners, this is going to be the midfield? And I think it's very easy to say that Ferrari and Mercedes are going to be those front runners. I would expect Ferrari to be on top once again. However, last year at this circuit, we saw it was very close between Mercedes and Ferrari, and so I expect that to be the situation this weekend. I don't think it'll be quite the Mercedes domination that we saw in Melbourne, but likewise, I don't think it'll be the Ferrari almost domination we saw in Bahrain. I think they're going to be really close in those top two teams, but I do expect there to be a little bit more of a gap back to Red Bull this weekend. I expect it to be Mercedes and Ferrari at the front. Red Bull perhaps this weekend could be more in that midfield fight, maybe with Renault. We still haven't seen quite what they've been able to do. Daniel Ricciardo has got 2 DNFs out of 2. Hülkenberg, after getting a really impressive 7th place in the first race of the season, unfortunately last time out he wasn't able to finish at all the same with Daniel Ricciardo. Both drivers haven't even made it into Q3 yet, so Renault are one of those teams that we're still a little bit unsure about. But I think this weekend it's going to be a circuit that I think will suit their car a little bit more than the likes of McLaren, perhaps a little bit more than the Alfa Romeo team. That, again, they seem to have been in a little bit of no man's land so far this season. They sit 4th in the Constructors somehow due to Kimi Raikkonen's consistency. I just question whether they've got enough over the entire season to stay in 4th. I don't think realistically, come even the summer break, they're going to be in that sort of position. McLaren have really impressed at the beginning of this season. They perhaps could spring a bit of a surprise. Carlos Sainz, like Ricciardo, has DNF'd in both races, so he's got something to prove this weekend in China. And also Haas, another team that in the Bahrain Grand Prix looked so good during the early stages of the weekend, but in the race, Grosjean, first lap incident with Stroll. Magnussen had a terrible race, went backwards and backwards and backwards. The race pace of that car was awful. Could they be in the mix this weekend with a circuit that will, I think, complement their car quite nicely with that long back straight and potentially a couple of DRS zones? That could work in Haas's favour. So maybe we could see a bit of a crazy result outside those top 2 teams. And maybe we could see Renault and Haas challenging the likes of Red Bull, who last time out in Bahrain had a few issues with that car. I'm not too sure what we're going to expect from that Honda in a straight line. That's generally, over the past couple of years, been their big deficit, their straight line speed. So this is going to be a huge test this weekend for Red Bull. But here is my predictions. I like predictions. I love predictions, and I love doing some wacky predictions. I've gone with, in the 1,000th ever, I can't say that, I'm really sorry, and I've tried doing that a few takes now, but I just can't do it. In the 1,000th ever race, Charles Leclerc ruins all the marketing, ruins all the posters, and he adds his name to the Formula 1 winners list. He is so quick. But what I actually think is that I think Hamilton and Vettel could be the 2 lead drivers in this race. And what I'm envisioning, what I'm foreseeing in my mystic ball of F1 randomness, is that Hamilton and Vettel will be put on different strategies to Leclerc and Bottas. Maybe they do 1 extra stop, these 2 do 1 less stop, and that really splits the strategy. Something we've not seen for quite some time with the top teams. I think that could happen. I'm also expecting a Hamilton-Vettel smash-up, leaving the door open for one of those midfield teams that are fighting perhaps with those Red Bulls, and I've gone with Nico Hülkenberg to finally get his first podium in Formula 1. That would be brilliant to see. Probably wishful thinking, but I don't mind. In my fantasy F1 team, this is how it looks for this particular weekend. Ricciardo was the driver we took out last time, really ruining my points in terms of teams after those 2 DNFs. So as well for Grosjean. Lando Norris comes in, but I'm not expecting too much from McLaren this weekend with that Renault power unit. But that is just a quick reminder at the end of this video that you can join my official Formula 1 Fantasy League over on the official F1 website. There is the code, there is the name, it's all in the description, and I'm sure you know the drill by now, and if you haven't joined it, it's not too late. I'm on barely any points whatsoever, so you'll definitely catch up with me. But that is it for your preview for the Chinese Grand Prix. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.